everybody. My name is Angie Viscianen, and if this is your first time joining us, I run a pre-law mentoring program for people who are interested in going to law school to connect and match with lawyers and learn how to build their first professional relationships. And we started doing these Zoom meetups every Tuesday and Thursday so that I can bring in lawyers to come chat with you guys about things that you need to know about before you get into law school. And I'm super excited to have Shaelan here with us today to share with you more about her journey and what it was like for her. She's now a third-year law student. She's about to graduate and go into the world and become an amazing attorney. So super excited for you guys to hear from her. And I'll let Shaelan take it away.
Okay, thank you, Angie. What a great opportunity this is. All right, you all, I just have a couple of reflections that I want to share with each of you to empower you, to encourage you, to let you know that no matter where you come from, there is a place in law for you, whether you're a young professional or you're a first gen lawyer, or you're not a first gen lawyer, there is a place for you. So this topic of conversation is my reflections on navigating corporate America and law school as an African American woman. Now, the premise is not that I am all knowing, okay, because I'm not, of all things diversity and inclusion. And now I'm going to tell you what to do or what not to do with your teams, et cetera. No, that is not the purpose of our talk. I consider myself to be a life learner, meaning that I never want to stop learning, partaking in new experiences and growing, okay? As a life learner, I've come to appreciate the power in sharing experiences to uplift, empower, and empower other people. Okay, so this time of reflection is about my why. Okay, can everyone put in the chat my why? My why. My why. I'm going to make sure we stay engaged together. My why. During this time, I want us all to be thinking about our why. Okay. Why I choose to pursue law and why I created my company, Luminous Consulting Group LLC. So today, my goal is twofold. First, my goal is to uplift and encourage people from all backgrounds that may be underrepresented in whatever communities you work in, and live in, so that you can tap into your power. I want to encourage you to embrace your unique gifts and talents. Second, I want my reflection to provide measured and sincere insight to people managers and to decision makers on experiences that their people may need assistance navigating and working through, like imposter syndrome, for example. So just to share a little bit about myself, I do come from humble beginnings, okay? My introduction to law was cleaning law offices with my mother when I was a young child. I would help take out the trash, clean the restrooms. I didn't know what these people did. I just knew that I saw big plaques, big shiny plaques and degrees on the walls, and walls of books and pictures of people in places next to tall buildings that I'm sure I couldn't pronounce at the time. So one day I asked my mother what these people did. What do these people do? And she told me that these are lawyers. And I was like, well, what's a lawyer? And she said, these are the people who amplify the voices of those who are unheard. Okay, this was a defense firm. This was a criminal defense firm in Birmingham, Alabama. And that stuck with me, right? That stuck with me. The reason why it stuck with me is because I had been raised at an early age to think about others. My parents, they instilled in me early that all of us have a unique gift that belongs someplace in this world that's meant to amplify and uplift other people. And so that's something that was instilled in me in a young, early age. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, like, okay, this can be the way that I can amplify the voices of other people, that I can be a part of something bigger than myself. Young girl. And I said, okay, well, can I talk to one of them? And one day my mom, she was like, yeah, and she introduced me to the partner of the firm. And he actually took the time. He sat down with me and he said, okay, well, this is how you can become a lawyer. I think I was maybe 11 or 12 at the time. So a lot of what he told me, it didn't register as closely, but he let me know that I had to go and pursue an education and do well in school. Okay. So I never lost sight of that moment. In that moment, I knew what I wanted to do. So my first reflection is that I embraced my humble beginning and looked for a way to challenge my position. I embraced my humble beginning and looked for a way to challenge my position. I knew that I wanted more. I knew that my parents were working very hard to ensure that I had a chance and that I could have access to more than what they had growing up. I challenged my beginnings by looking for a way to challenge my position. My position meaning I didn't see anyone else around me that had achieved that type or level of success in law or otherwise. And I wanted to know how to get there. And so I challenged where I stood, where I was, to say, okay, I want more. How do I get more? I challenged myself through my faith, by elevating my mind through my education, and by reaching out to others who were successful. I later earned a full ride to attend Tuskegee University. And y'all, let me tell you about Tuskegee University, my beloved TU. While attending Tuskegee University in Alabama, I felt on top of the world. Okay. I attended one of the best HBCUs in the land, my opinion. I was surrounded by people who looked like me, people I could identify shared experiences with almost naturally, right? I was senior class president, heavily involved with the administration at the school. I felt at home. I felt on top of my game. I felt like I belonged. Okay. I felt like I belonged. So I felt like I had community. That brings me to reflection number 2. Attending an HBCU reaffirmed, empowered, and prepared me for the real world. It's vital that we continue to give and invest in these spaces as we grow. I had glimpses of corporate America while interning for companies like Union Pacific and 3M while attending school at Tuskegee. After graduating from Tuskegee, I joined corporate America and was fully submerged in corporate culture. Specifically, I began to work in agricultural sales, marketing, new hire onboarding, and training. Agriculture is a majority white male dominated field. Back then, when I first joined, if you were a woman, period, in agriculture, it was something special. You automatically had a sense of community from woman to woman, no matter where you came from. Now, to be an African American woman in ag, you were like a unicorn, okay? Like you just didn't see us. You just didn't see us. So if you do see one, it's just like, oh, there's more of us here. It was just like a unicorn.
Shaelan, I actually had a similar experience in corporate America because I went to go work in advertising after college.
Mm-hmm.
And advertising agencies were very white male dominated as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there were hardly any Asian Americans at all.
Yep.
I mean, like, I got there and I was like, where did everybody go? Because I went to an undergraduate university that had a significant percentage of Asian Americans. And so when I got out into the working world, I started seeing that the minorities were disappearing. And I was like, what happened?
Like, where'd they go? Where are we?
Yeah, so I can tell, was it quite shocking for you? Did you feel out of place?
Initially, I'll tell you, my approach, so I was happy to be there, right? And I'm going to tell you why that was good and why that was bad. I felt blessed to be there. I felt like I was given this amazing opportunity. And while feeling this feeling of gratefulness and I'm happy to be here, although I don't see necessarily people who look like me, I was forgetting that my accomplishments and my experiences helped open the door of opportunity for me, just like everyone else there. And so I was existing in a space, thinking from a place of gratefulness, but forgetting to also think from a place of power, from operating from a place of power. And so that brings me to my third reflection, which was that I feel lucky to be here because I don't see anyone else look like me attitude was not serving me, and it was not serving the organization either. Now there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you work in a great place, whether there are people there that look like you or not, right? And it's okay to celebrate working with great people. That's worth celebrating. What did not serve me well, because I did not see other people, and I placed this immense sense of pressure on myself, is I forgot to acknowledge that I too was great, just like they were. And I forgot that there's power existing where I am on this team. Now, if I didn't have something to bring to the table, the company would not have hired me on. I had earned the position I was in, but I was thinking from a place of inferiority, not from power. I was falling victim to imposter syndrome without having a name for it.
I can totally relate to that. And I think one of the weird, bizarre things about imposter syndrome is that you feel like you don't belong in the room. Like, oh, you got lucky just to get here. So you don't want to, make waves or, rock the boat or, do anything that's going to like upset this balance because you were so lucky to get into
Yes, exactly.
Except because you are a unique voice in that room, you should be absolutely contributing, and you should be rocking the boat, and you should be pushing the boundaries, and you should be telling people, hey, maybe you see it this way, but I see it this way. And I know when I was a very young professional, especially when you're the youngest person in the room, you're afraid to do that. So you don't want to upset this balance. And so even though you magically got into the room, you make yourself feel small so that you're barely noticeable. And that's not what you should be doing. Now that you got yourself in the room, you need to like take charge of that position, right? Own your seat at the table.
Own it.
So that's, so interesting to hear your experiences, because I think many of us go through the same thing, especially early on in your careers. When you're the youngest person in the room, you're the only female, you're the only minority, you can come up with a million reasons in your head why you don't belong there. And that just cripples your own success, right?
Yes. I love that you said that. I mean, and that's really speaking truth to the situations that you have to come from a place of ownership and power. And like you said, rock the boat. Can you all put in the chat, rock the boat? Rock the boat. Rock it, y'all. Rock it. Tap into that. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. Now, so that brings me to reflection number 4. If I did not possess the qualities necessary to fulfill the job, I would not have been hired. I would have not been hired. So we have to allow ourselves to get past that. We have to allow ourselves to get past that initial hurdle, mental hurdle that we placed on ourselves, that pressure we placed on ourselves. We have every tool that we need to be successful. And proof of that is being present in that room. Now we need to be heard. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. My feeling of being an imposter or trying to find my power was not always self-inflicted. There were times where I would be in meetings and I would be looked over for opportunities, and my accomplishments were sometimes not as celebrated as others. Part of that was because I was too afraid to say anything. Now, with this particular company, that didn't happen as much because there were other women and other men on the team who would speak up when I was too afraid to speak for myself in the beginning stages of my career. And so that brings me to reflection number 5. As you're preparing for law school, as you're preparing for your career, wherever you may be, it's important to find allies. I found allies within every space I existed in, and we made sure that we had each other's backs. We made sure that no one was left out in a meeting. that, we would support each other's projects and initiatives and ideas. And that was so important. Now, as I began to tap into my power after realizing that I had uh, something worthwhile to contribute, that I didn't need to feel afraid to hold to myself, I began to embrace my ability to truly contribute as an asset to the team. I allowed myself to have the freedom to be innovative, like Angie said, to rock the boat, to create new programs and processes. And I shared my contributions with leaders of the organization, and I was promoted. Now, this brings me to reflection number 6 that I believe is powerful for pre-law students or anyone. I excelled once I gave myself the freedom to make mistakes and to innovate. I excelled once I gave myself the freedom to make mistakes and innovate. In the chat, let me see you all put innovate, 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 innovate. Come from a place of power and innovate. Find ways to offer solutions to those supervising attorneys, to your institutions. Be a part of something greater than yourself. My focus became less about fitting in and more about meeting and exceeding the needs of the organization. So I took the spotlight off of myself and I looked at the organization and the needs of the organization. My gifts then made room for me with executive leadership because I was finding solutions to problems that they needed solving. I didn't approach them from a place of inferiority. When management opened their doors to consider my work, they benefited as well. So that brings me to reflection number 7. Once the company made a bigger table for me to have a place, they found solutions for the company as well. Because there are a lot of people, no matter what your background is, you may have the best solutions in the world sitting in the boardroom with you. And if you're not given that opportunity, if you're not given a place of equity where you can really contribute to a team, then the solutions that you have that could really take the organization to the next level, the leaders won't be able to benefit from that as well. So when you're approach for those pre-law students specifically, when you're approaching law school and you're developing your personal statement and you're trying to figure out what your story is, what is your place of power? Your place of power is exactly who you are. A lot of students that I've worked with before, they've struggled with their personal statements in particular because they wanted to create a story or paint a picture that would make the admissions committee like them, that will make the admissions committee say, they check all the boxes. You need to make sure that you are speaking truth to power of who you are, and you're reflecting that in your personal statement. So I just wanted to make sure I share that because I encounter a lot of students who struggle with just embracing who they are and just giving it to them. Like, make sure that there are no errors in your personal statement and that it's professional and it checks those boxes. But make sure you're speaking from your own personal experiences, your own voice as well, because you want to be paired with an institution that wants you for you and that wants to help grow you from who you are today to someone that's kicking butt out in the legal field tomorrow.
Absolutely. And I would also say that not only should you be doing that when you're looking at law schools, but as you get into law school itself and you're looking for summer internships and your jobs after law school, you should be making sure that you are picking jobs that align with you, that will give you the opportunity to grow. So, I mean, I know, especially in this economy, I think many students are like, I just want to be able to get any job, like just give me any job and I will run with it. And, while I know that's very tempting, if you find a job that, seems like it pays a lot, seems like it checks all the boxes, but you can tell that this organization isn't aligned with your values, you
Right.
can have a really hard time growing there. And
That's
then
so
you'll
true.
find, 3-4 years down the line that your growth may be, pretty capped at wherever you are. And in the meantime, if you would have been at somewhere that really allows you to grow, you would have just exponentially seen so much more benefit from that. And you would find that you probably have way more experiences now that you can use to market yourself later on down the road. So, if you find yourself at a job that's trying to pin you into doing one thing, and they just want you to do that one thing really, really well, but they want you to keep your head down and not make any waves or anything, then that might not be the right role for you. If you are the kind of person that likes to take on the challenge, that likes to, really take charge of things and grow in different ways. So really think about that even when you're looking at jobs, not just law schools,
That's
like
huge.
how well does this organization really align with you?
That's huge. Thank you for sharing that. I'm taking some mental notes myself as well because I'm about to prepare for the bar, and it's just like you said, we are existing in an interesting world right now, and it's important that we just not take the first thing moving, but we have to be intentional about how we are setting ourselves up for success for the future. So it's definitely important to be intentional. I'm just making some mental notes back here.
Sure. No, I mean, I've had students, people that are just graduated law school that have talked to me, and, they were like, well, there's no jobs out there, so I'm just going to take whatever I can get. And I said,
Mm,
okay, well, why don't you also be connecting with people who are at organizations that are your dream job,
right.
and just talking to them
Yeah.
and not asking them for a job, but just talking to them and just thinking, okay, well, if eventually I wanted to be able to get this dream job, how can I set myself up for that? So what can I be doing right now where I can go check all those boxes and make sure that I'm in the position to get that dream job when it's available? And by talking to all of these, lawyers at these dream jobs that they're at, they're starting to see like, oh, there are possibilities, there is something greater that I could be looking for.
Mm,
And
mhm.
they're learning more about, from those lawyers about what those organizations needs are, exactly, what you were saying. And many of them have actually, created job opportunities for themselves just by doing informational interviews at the places that they
Exactly.
ultimately, want to be at. So, I mean, don't come from a place of scarcity. If you come from a mindset of scarcity, there's barely any jobs out there, I'm just going to take what I can get, you're probably going to end up with something that you don't really want. But
Mm,
think, you know what, I can go out, I can create my own opportunities. I
right.
know myself and I know that I belong in an organization like this. And you go and create that for yourself, then you'll be in a much better position. So,
I love that.
so I think don't limit yourself. Think big.
Think big. Yes, I love that. Everyone put in the chat, think big. Think big. Think big. I'm going to do it too. Think big because it all starts in our mind and how we view ourselves, how we view our worth, how we view what we have to bring to the table. It starts there. So after spending a few years in corporate America, I decided to pursue a career in law. And so I had limited knowledge, limited access to information on how to appropriately prepare for law school initially. I particularly struggled with my personal statement in the LSAT, like I had stated before. I struggled with my personal statement because I was more concerned about what the admissions committee thought. I had to get beyond that. Now, reflection number 8 is as long as I was writing my personal statement from what I thought they wanted to hear, I was not presenting my best self. Once I came from a place of power and ownership of my unique experiences, I soared. Now, let's talk about once I got into law school. Okay, so we've got a little bit of the background, corporate America. Now I'm in a whole new world. Like I accomplished a lot in corporate America, but it definitely didn't matter as much once I got into law school because it was super humbling, right? It was super humbling. And I was like, oh, I've had these great experiences, but I didn't know the law. I had to learn the law. So I had to humble myself and be ready for almost a clean slate, right? So, um, I had to build my confidence in law. And I'm still learning, right? I think it's important that we're all still life learners, no matter where we are in the stages of our careers. Um, as I built my competence, this is reflection number 9, and I have one more to share. As I built my competence, I naturally built up my confidence. Okay. As I built my competence, basically my skills, my knowledge, really invested the time needed to learn the law and how to find the law, I naturally built up my confidence. Now, according to the American Bar Association, only 5% of practicing lawyers are African American. A little over 6% of them are Latinos. Less than 3% are Asian or Native American descent. Okay. Only 2% of African American women practice law. 2% of practicing lawyers are African American women. Such disparities of representation is also seen in law school as well. So this conversation is applicable to you folks who are entering the law field. There is a place for you despite those numbers, okay? There's absolutely a place for you. And knowing that there weren't as many women or African American women in law, I sought ways to challenge myself by building and learning new skills from other experts in the field, from surrounding myself with great folks like Angie and mentors that I found along the way. For example, I love trial work. I love being in the courtroom. I've done transactional work as well, but I love being in the courtroom. And I competed for a position on my law school's trial team to be a part of their advocacy program, and I got it. That was just the beginning. Now, Faulkner Law, where I attend law school in Montgomery, Alabama, its advocacy program is ranked 15th in the nation. Okay, it's ranked 15th in the nation. My instructors, trial coaches, attorneys, Joe Lester, Sherry Mazer, David Haggard, just to name a few, challenged me, Stephanie Monsipler, challenged me to get the job done, to build those skills while unapologetically being myself in the courtroom. Okay. And I can't forget Professor McFarland. They challenged me to unapologetically be myself in the courtroom and get the job done while being me. Okay. I even leaned on members of my community from BALSA, the Black Law Students Association, like Kim Porter and Siobhan Thomas and Tim Ragland. They invested in me. All these people invested in me, and I was inspired to invest in others in a meaningful way. Thus came Luminous Consulting Group LLC. So for my last reflection 10, before I close out and just give a couple of comments, is that mentoring was a gift to me that keeps giving. Mentoring was a gift to me that keeps giving. It's a gift to me that keeps giving because now I invest in other students just as Angie does, to say, hey, there's a place for you. Let's help bridge those gaps. This is how you can be there, right? We want to help foster meaningful relationships. Through my company, Luminous Consulting Group LLC, I'm able to invest in the next generation of law students by helping them transition into law school. I'm blessed to be able to use my past experiences to advocate for diversity in law school admissions, which has been a very important part of my journey. I'll be graduating law school a semester early this December, and I look forward to preparing the bar. Oh my God, preparing for the bar. It's been a doozy. One thing I will tell pre-law students, do not take 9 classes in one semester like I did. Don't ever do that. Oh, thank you. I see people saying congratulations. Thank you. I took 9 classes in one semester, and just don't do that. Don't ever do it. It was, I made it, but just pace yourself. All right. And I'll be taking the upcoming February bar exam. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to answer questions and to just engage with you all in conversation. That's my journey.
Wonderful, Shaelan. You know that last tip was my favorite, right? Because I think it's so key. I mean, mentoring, seriously, guys. Like, I know I always tell my students, no matter where you are in life, you could be a college student, you could be a law school student, you could be a first-year attorney. and you have something you can give back to someone else. There is always going to be somebody who knows less about this than you. And you can always mentor somebody no matter what stage that you're in. Whatever you learn today, you can teach that thing to somebody else today or tomorrow, and it benefits them just as much. And when you teach things to other people, you solidify it for yourself. You learn different aspects of it. You grow yourself when you grow other people. You know, when I mentor other people, it really grows who I am, because I figure out like, hey, there are some strategies that worked for me that didn't work for them. And we talk about that. You know, I tell my mentees, I'm like, I never want you to take my advice just for the sake of taking the advice, and not trying it out for yourself. I want you to go out, live that advice. Tell me, did it work for you? Did it not work for you? If it didn't work for you, why? And we can talk about it. And then it helps me inform myself on how can I better help other people, right? So it's important that you always have that feedback as well. When you teach these other mentees behind you, you'll be amazed at how many things that you learn yourself. Yeah. You know, I've been working with students who are in college. They taught me how to use TikTok. They taught me how to use
I still don't know how to use
they taught me so much. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm teaching them about law and law school and all these things, but there were so many things that I didn't understand how to do. I was like, I don't know how to create an Instagram account. I don't know how to I don't know how to like make YouTube videos. My mentees are teaching me how to make YouTube videos. Like one of my mentees has like 60,000 followers on YouTube. It's absurd. And so she's been teaching me on how to, you know, make my videos better and everything. So, you know, I mean, you will be amazed at all of the ways that you grow when you help other people grow. So definitely you should be doing exactly what Shaelan is doing. You know, I mean, you see her here today. She's a third-year law student. You know, she's about to become an attorney, and she's already giving back to people, you know, already helping the next generation behind her. And so you can totally do that as well. So yeah, does anybody have any questions for Shaelan? Please feel free, jump on camera and ask away.
Please do. I definitely want to meet you all. Absolutely.
So Shaelan, tell me a little bit more about Luminos and all the types of services that you offer.
Absolutely. So I've already placed in the chat, you can connect with us on IG at the_diversity_advocate, the_diversity_advocate. You can also connect with us online at www.luminousLSAT.com, www.luminousLSAT.com, and that's also in the chat as well. We'd love to connect with you all. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the services that we do offer. First things first, we want to make sure that students feel empowered when they go and take the LSAT. Right now, I have tutors that are working for us that scored in the 95th percentile on the LSAT exam. And what we do is we offer individual tutoring. We have small group sessions as well. And then we have our weekend prep courses that we offer each month. We've priced these services 75% below market value, not because it's not a quality program, right? Because we want to make sure that students have access to quality prep. You know, whether they may have worked with a different prep company before, you have to find, no matter who you work with for the LSAT, you have to find the right program that speaks to how you learn, okay? Different programs, they may speak to those who are visual, and some programs may speak to those who learn by doing, right? But you have to find the right program that works for you. With us, we try to touch each and every way that different people learn. So it's engaging, it's a safe place to come and be built up so that you can prepare adequately for the exam. Not only that, but we offer resume editing and personal statement services as well. So if you just need someone to help glance over your personal statement, you've come into like a writer's block, right? And you're like, I really don't know where to go with this next. We'll remind you of your power, okay? We'll remind you of how powerful your story already is and help you put that on paper. So we offer those services as well. As someone who previously recruited in corporate America, so I worked with a lot of undergraduate students who wanted to take their next step in their career. I worked with a lot of resumes. I saw a lot of do's, a lot of don'ts. Okay. And so we're happy to provide feedback for that as well. We offer mentoring sessions for free. And, we want to make sure that you're connected in a community, just like how Angie has, where she has her summer program. We want you all to know about these things, right? We want more people to know about it so that they can be empowered and they can go out there and practice.
That's awesome. So what tips do you have for people who are about to go into law school? Let's say that they, took the LSAT, blew it away. They're applying to law school right now and they're starting next year. What tips do you have?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because that's a huge, okay, all right. Chadwick Boseman, he shared something during one of Howard's graduation ceremonies. He was a keynote speaker, and he said, savor the taste of your triumphs today. Okay. Savor the taste of your triumphs today. And I have that written on a sticky note, like it's stuck to my computer. And I want to share that with you all who are getting ready to head into law school. Take time to embrace what you've just done. Okay. I mean, go back and look at that letter that you worked so hard to get and embrace that. Now, after you're done celebrating, you should take a moment to celebrate. After you're done celebrating, make sure that when all the deadlines are coming up for the first semester, so that you can begin to organize yourself and prepare yourself mentally for what's about to happen, what's about to go on, because it's a brand new world, but you can absolutely do well. Something that I would say is getting straight into the door, like your first day or your first 2 weeks or what have you. Find out, who is who, right? Who are the people who work? Who are the people who work in the administration for your organization? Find out who they are. Find out who your professors are. Do some research on your professors so that you can find out what's important to them. What is their background in? Even to the secretaries, introduce yourself to these people. Find out who's over the career development and placement center and introduce yourself to them as well, and ask them, okay, what is it that I need to be doing right now to prepare myself for internship opportunities in the fall and the summer? Because what a lot of organizations do, and I know that Angie can attest to this, is that large firms, they have these pipeline programs where students who perform really well and, they have impressive resumes, they'll let them come and intern the first year. And then if they do really well, they'll let them intern the second year. And then they'll offer them a job. So there's a pipeline program. These are things that you should be thinking about when you first get in. So yeah, I spoke to the career development piece. I think there's a question.
Yeah, you've got some questions in here. So did you work full time when attending law school, or do you know anybody who did?
Ooh, okay. So I will say I'm a law mom. I have a little guy, so I'm a non-traditional student because I came from corporate America over, and because I'm a mom. Me personally, I could not work full time, be a mom, and be fully and allow myself to fully integrate into school. I know people who work part time, like myself. Right now, I work for the Federal Defender's Office. There was a time where I worked for the Attorney General and for the House of Representatives of Alabama. And all of those were part-time opportunities. And I think it was important that you do intern while you're in school during the semester and in the summer, but have a balance. No matter what you do, make sure that you have a balance, because you don't want to sacrifice your grades, right? Your grades, your GPA, for having experiences. Make sure you have a balance. Let's see. Can you tell us about your process in deciding to go to law school, applying, matriculation, what factors, you consider in choosing your law school? Awesome. Tyrus, I'll tell you this. There are factors that I now share with other prospective law students that I did not consider going into pursuing law school. Thankfully, it's just like me too.
It was the same way. I was like, I picked law schools like really differently than now the way that I advise people to think.
That's so true. But and I'm so thankful that things have worked out, and I'm thankful for my law school. It's been a great experience. But if I had to think through other things, if I were to encourage someone coming behind me, I would say, in no particular order, look at what that school specializes in. Angie spoke to it before. She said, for those niche markets, for those niche practices of law, if you want to get into IP, what are those institutions that are notable, that have an impressive reputation for IP? What are those universities? And align yourself with those. Another thing that I would share is look at the strength of the alumni connection, because a lot of students that are fresh out of law school, they find their next job through folks who were alumni of the particular institution that you may attend. And so having a pipeline does make a difference as compared to not having one. Something else I would look at is bar passage rates. You want to make sure that you attend a law school that is churning out lawyers, okay? You want to attend a law school that, yes, employment numbers. You want to attend a law school that is going to prepare you to go out there and practice, but first to pass the bar. Gotta pass the bar before you get out there and practice. Yes, okay, ABA 509 reports, absolutely. Those would be the main things that I would look at. I would look at the bar passage rates. I would look at, the specialization of the school. What are they known for? And I would also, I guess it's 4 things. I would also look at the strength of the career development and placement center. Are they positioning students for success after they've done their part? Is the school providing that additional support? And also those alumni networks. I think those are super important. Something else I want to share. Oh, go ahead, Angie.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I want to chime in on that too. So yeah. I completely 100% agree with this. I think that there's also a few other things that I would add. So I tell everybody who's interested in going to law school that you should be running 2 tracks at the same time. And I shared this with Shaelan earlier. I'm going to share it with all of y'all. So one track is, do I actually know what being a lawyer is? And do I want to be a lawyer in the long run, right? So that's career development, career exploration. You're trying to figure out, you should be connecting with lawyers, learning more about different practice areas, figuring out what types of practice areas you're interested in, so that you can understand what world you're getting into. Your second track is all the nuts and bolts of getting into law school, right? LSAT, personal statement, letters of recommendation, doing everything that you need to do for the application process. Now, these 2 tracks are running at the same time. They should not be, one doesn't come before the other or, anything else, but you got to be running both, which is tricky because a lot of people completely ignore the career exploration track until they get into law school, which is a mistake. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was thinking about going to law school and I didn't know anything about the law, I went and talked to a gazillion lawyers to figure out what different practice areas there were. And somewhere along that way, I managed to stumble into an intellectual property lawyer. And so I already had applied to a bunch of schools in the early part of the cycle. So I applied to, the typical T14 schools, right? I got rejected from a bunch. I got waitlisted to a bunch. And then I was in the process of still learning more about all these different career paths. And in February, which is late in the cycle, I met a trademark and copyright lawyer. And he was at an AmLaw 100 firm, hiring partner at that firm. And he told me that they only did on-campus interviewing at 8 law schools. And those 8 law schools were not the schools I had applied to. I had only applied to 1 by then. And so I literally took his list of 8. I applied to 7 more schools that weekend. And I was lucky because a lot of those schools were actually lower in the regular rankings, but they were higher in intellectual property, right? So one of those was our school, Tyrus. So so I went and applied to all these schools, and I actually ended up getting into these other schools with way better scholarships, even though I applied super late in the game. So I ended up going to law school 75% free, and then also getting really, really good, extracurricular activities and everything in IP. So I think that you really need to take some time to inform yourself about different practice areas, because not every law school does every practice area well, right? So if you're going for the large umbrellas, corporate, criminal, immigration, those types of things, there's probably like 50 law schools that'll give you a good education in each of those areas. If you're going for something that's like an emerging practice area or a very niche one, like very niche ones would be like intellectual property, maritime law, oil and gas. Like these are
For
niche
sure.
ones, right? Emerging practice areas, cryptocurrency, privacy, security, cannabis, all these areas that are emerging. It's
Right.
taking some time for the law schools to catch up. So the law schools aren't going to have a ton of classes in those areas. So if you really want to be in an emerging practice area, you might have to find some really specialized law schools. So you should be really thinking about all of this when you're selecting the law schools that you apply to, because like if you, for example, some law schools are known for certain types of programs. Like here in Texas, Baylor is known for like litigation. Like if you want to be a litigator, you go to Baylor. And if you happen to want to be a transactional attorney and you go to Baylor, you're going to have kind of a hard time connecting with all those alumni, because there's not going to be that many alumni who practice in transactional areas. And so it's exactly like Shaelan said, you want to utilize your alumni network to help you get jobs and everything, right? So you need to make sure that you're in a good geographic location, that you want to be in. If you can, try to get into a school in the geographic area you eventually want to practice.
Right.
But if you're going for a super niche practice area, geography might not matter so much. Like we went to law school in New Hampshire of all places, like in the middle of nowhere, right? But it was a really, really good IP school. So for certain niche practice areas, geography doesn't matter so much. So I think it depends on what's most important to you. And then finances, right? I mean, that's the big elephant in the room. Like if you are paying for all of this yourself and you are not independently wealthy, like I was not, then you don't want to be going to the most expensive law school that you can find if you are planning to practice in an area that doesn't require it. If you're telling me you want to go clerk for the Supreme Court, I'm going to be like, yep, you need to go to the top 14 law schools. You need to go to Yale, Harvard, Stanford. But if you're telling me you want to just go be an intellectual property lawyer, you don't have to go to the top 14 law schools. In fact, if you go to one of those, they might not have that strong of IP programs. So I think you really need to think about what is the most important thing for you. What practice area do you want to be in? What is your geographic location that you want to ultimately practice in? All of those things.
I think that's super huge, Angie. And I just want to like demythify the LSAT. Okay. You do not have to have a perfect LSAT to get into law school. Okay. It is not necessary that you have a 178 or a 180 to get into a good law school and be eligible for scholarships. Okay. The median US average is between 151 and 153. I've seen people who have strong undergraduate GPAs and a competitive LSAT score of a 155 and above, 154 and above begin to get into the door for scholarships. Me, myself, I did not get a 180 on the LSAT, okay? But what I did do after taking it the first time and going back and taking it the second time and growing from the 14th percentile to the 70th percentile, I was offered over $500,000 in scholarship money, okay, from all the different organizations put together. All right. I was offered that and I was able to go to school for free, basically. Okay. So you do not have to have a perfect LSAT score. Thank you so much, Tyrus. Absolutely. I will definitely connect. Thank you so much. So I want to make sure I share that with you all. Please feel empowered. I'm here to help however I can. Angie is a super great resource. Please tap in to her network and every opportunity you have to connect with her and her folks, do it. Please connect with us as well. We want to see you succeed. And we know that you have everything inside of you right now to be successful. Own your power, okay? And embrace what you have to bring to the table because it's big enough for everybody.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Shaelan. And if folks have more questions, can they connect with you on LinkedIn?
Please,
Okay,
please
great.
do.
Great.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll drop Shaelan's information into the chat box and y'all can feel free to connect with her. Tomorrow we have our virtual happy hour. So if you really want to interact with a bunch of people, you can come check out our Friday virtual happy hour at 4 p.m. Central Time. And we actually do breakout rooms, so you get to meet each other one-on-one, and then we mix everybody up, and it's open to pre-law students, current law students, and lawyers. So you get to meet all of those types of people. So it's really, really fun. So come hang out with us. Shaelan, if you have time, come hang out with us. And
Okay.
I look forward to seeing all of you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Awesome.